protected Carter and Bluger because they're going to be tested in the center depth department very early in the season. And those guys are going to have to play huge roles, maybe really outsized compared to what they're going to be asked to do the rest of the year early this season.
No, I agree with that, and that's an answer to the question. Yeah, a lot of people ask that question on this show, and I'm sure on your show, why Teddy Bluger? He's a good hockey player, but if you knew you were going to be down the middle hurting, at least to start the season, you want to keep those guys around. All right, let's talk about T.J. Watt, the fact that today he was there, full practice, which indicates that he is going to play this season, I would think. Obviously, he's been around the whole time. He knows he's got a year of service that he has to give this franchise. I still think they're going to get a deal done, and I think it's going to happen on Saturday, quite frankly. So, Chris, I mean, we talk about this every single day, and there's nothing necessarily new here other than he was out there today. So what did you make of that?
I make of that he's a good teammate, and you know they voted him out as co-captain. He was co-captain of the defense last year with Cam Hayward, and he wasn't this year. And I just wonder how that process went down, because if the sort of duality here is you want T.J. Watt to get paid if you're one of his teammates, but once it's time for real practice for a real game, you want him out there because he's your best defensive player, he's your best overall player. He straddled those lines, and he came back today and did his thing. I think that's the mark of a good teammate. Just personally, I would have had zero problem with him not practicing to show exactly how serious he was about all of this. And I would have not faulted him. And if I were in his shoes, I don't know if I would have. And I got to be honest, I don't share your optimism that a deal is still going to get done. It just seems like the longer this drags on, the less likely it is that it's going to happen. And T.J. Watt, is not somebody who doesn't have other people he can lean on in this situation. I mean, that's one of the first families of football in this era, this generation. They're not going to be cowed by the Steelers' way of doing things. T.J. Watt is going to, I think, not sign a deal unless it's one that he feels pays him what he's worth. And that's why I think this is going to become an intractable situation that looms over their entire season. I would bet on no deal happening before that Buffalo game.
All right, well, we agree to disagree there, and we'll see how this ends up. But regardless, he's going to be there. So when you look at this game, I see the point spread at 6.5 points. Buffalo is clearly going to be the favorite and the team that should win this. They've won 2 of the last 3, although I think the Steelers have contributed to Buffalo winning by making mistakes. That pick 6 last year, there were 4 turnovers the year before that when they played here in Pittsburgh. The one thing I've noticed, Chris, is that Buffalo, last year was not good at stopping the run. And if the Steelers do have success with their offensive line, to me, it will start in the run game. The pass game may suffer a little bit depending on how Dan Moore, pass blocks. But I think the run game with Harris, and if they open holes, I think they may be able to take advantage. If that was the game plan I would use, at least to start this game in Buffalo.
I know that Bills front gave them fits last year trying to protect Ben Roethlisberger. They had some schemes, some stunts dreamed up. Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott, both kind of defensive guys that confused the Steelers, a veteran offensive line at that point. So I agree with you that the running game could be where they get this line going, or should be easier to get this line going. But that's still a mystery. We just don't know. They're going to have to try to run it with attitude. I do think it's a little easier to run the ball generally instead of pass it in terms of the blocking assignments. There are still blocking schemes. I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but I do think it's easier. And I guess we're going to see. Ben Roethlisberger had his little "we're going to run it every play" response today. It was a vintage dose of Ben after he went to the mat for T.J. Watt. He kind of threw some of those little barbs out there at the reporters. I would like to see them try to run the football early just to prove that they can do it, and then maybe open some things up down the field later in this game. But make no mistake about it, Bob. I think we all know this, even if it's tough to admit. The Bills are the better team on paper. They have the advantage at quarterback, and they really should win this football game. It would be found money for the Steelers if they walk out of Orchard Park with a W.
Yes, it would. But 6.5 points is hard to turn down, I think. But you never know. I see the Cowboys are 8-point underdogs. You wouldn't think that, but, they are at Tampa Bay. That's another intriguing point thing I'd have to consider. Anyway, we're due for a break. We'll talk about that when we come back with more calls. 412-575-2600. That is the number to call. Let us know how you feel right here live on Pittsburgh CW.